Hey guys, good morning. Good morning, good morning, good morning. I got a morning update for y'all. This was filed late last night, but I thought it seemed kind of interesting. So I thought you guys would want to hear about this because it was filed really late. It's about victim number 4. I know we've talked about victim number 3. But y'all getting ready to hear something about victim number 4 because clearly there is, I don't want to say there's some issues, but there's some back and forth going on about the who, what, where's, and whens, and hows, and all of the things. So let's get into it. Let me say good morning to everybody. Let me just get my document up real quick so I can make sure. Let me just test everything out. Let me move this over to the side so this can like show up. Okay, that looks good, right? You're gonna have to turn your phone vertical because this way you'll actually see it the best. Good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning to everybody. I hope you're doing well. I see y'all. Good morning, boo boo. Good morning, good morning, good morning, guys. Hit the like button for me because of course, likes do matter, and that's how we get shared out. Okay. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. We're getting ready to get some information about victim number 4. Um just a second. My eyes are being tested this morning. I need to pull up separate so I can see what's going on. I got it set up a certain type of way for you guys, and now I need to set it up for me to actually be able to read this. See. Let's hear about what's going on with victim number 4. Okay. So this was filed yesterday and late last night. So it populated first thing, this morning. And so this is a filing. It says April 23rd, but if you see at the top, it was processed in like after midnight. And this is a letter. So in the federal court, their motions are filed a particular way in letter format. And this is from the prosecution, excuse me, addressing the judge. Basically, and then this goes into saying the government respectfully writes in response, excuse me, guys. The government writes in response to the court's April 22nd order seeking additional information regarding the risk of harm to victim number 4. So victim number 4 wants to keep her name. She wants to testify under a pseudonym. Now, I think we talked about this the other day because just because you go under an assumed name, some sort of a pseudonym, Madam whoever, or, Joanne Jane 52, doesn't mean the people can't see you. Now, does that, so maybe the artist who's doing renderings of witnesses maybe can't record your image, and maybe they're asking anyone who's in the court to not tell. I don't know, but let's listen and then we'll talk afterwards. I'll see what you guys' comments are. The government respectfully writes in response to court's April 22nd, 2025 order seeking additional information regarding the risk of harm to victim 4 were she to testify under her own name. Those harms, which are detailed in a declaration from her counsel attached. So there is an exhibit A, and I'll read that to you as well. Here too, as exhibit A, are numerous and more than sufficient to warrant a pseudonym. So they're basically arguing that her lawyer has come forward and stated that she wants to be under an assumed name. And we are also asking and requesting victim 4 wishes to testify under a pseudonym. The risk of harm to victim 4 otherwise, including psychological, emotional, and professional harm of publicly talking about, and they've redacted, more than justify the use of a pseudonym. C. Ferreira, they're citing the law. Allow use of pseudonym where victims face likely adverse personal, professional, and psychological consequences of publicly linking their identities to their past experiences. Victim 4 also fears harassment, and there's a redaction. It is quite reasonable to think that the harassment will increase exponentially if she testified under her true name, especially with all press coverage this case has garnered. Finding that in light of the explicit nature of the conduct that the witnesses will be testifying about, the court has determined that the witnesses' fear of harassment and reprisal by the media and others is legitimate. The court should therefore allow victim 4 to testify under a pseudonym. Defendant cites no case in the circuit denying pseudonyms of victim witnesses. Does not, as the defendant suggests, serve as a waiver or her application for a pseudonym or her rights as a victim to be protected and treated with fairness and respect under the Crime Victims' Rights. Victim 4 has never spoken publicly about the sensitive topics that she will cover in her testimony. Let me advance. Indeed, before her involvement in the case, she had not spoken to anyone, even in private, even where victims have publicly disclosed, which victim 4 has not. Court have still allowed pseudonyms. Given the sensitive nature of victims 4 testimony and her lack of public disclosure, a pseudonym is entirely appropriate. The defendant suggests that his defense will be hindered if victim 4 testifies under a pseudonym, as courts have time and again recognize the defendant's right to put on his case, including the cross-examination of the witness. So I wonder if, if the person is testifying under a pseudonym, does that preclude being able to, kind of maybe have questions that draw some familiar, like how do you know the defendant? How did you come to be in a relationship with him? Like if you're using a fake name and people know your association with him, but they don't know to the degree, how in the world how can they cross-examine this person effectively without being able to tie in Mr. Combs with girl Aaliyah TV? Maybe that's Carisha. Yeah, who knows? Good point. Yeah, I feel like she has to come. Could it be girl? I mean, J-Lo has that OG experience. Like, let's just say 20 years ago. Was it 20 years ago, J-Lo and Diddy had something going on, or was it longer ago than that? Maybe it was 20 years ago, but it could have been 25, 30 years ago, because I mean, he is 55, so it's been in the 20 neighborhood range. I don't know. Let me finish this and we'll get to Exhibit A, which is the affidavit from the lawyer. Okay. Good morning to everybody coming in. Hit the double tap or hit the thumbs up for me, please. The defendant suggests that the defense will be hindered if victim 4 testifies under a pseudonym, as the courts have time and again recognize the defendant's right to put on a case, including in the cross-examination of the witness, are not absolute. And here any harm to the defense case is minimal, where the government is also asking the victim to be allowed to testify under pseudonym and that their true name not be included in the public exhibits. As the government made clear in April 18th, 2025 conference, this would not prohibit the defense from using witness true names when conducting their investigation outside the courtroom. The relief the government seeks, particularly where the defendant knows victim's full true name and is permitted to conduct an investigation, and the kind of relief court in this circuit have repeatedly granted. The court, so let's see, and then they're citing the law, uphold the use of pseudonyms, first names, nicknames for victims where the defendant knew the witness's identity. allowing witnesses to testify with different names, even where defendant raised that a member of the public may come forward with relevant information contradicting the witness's testimony. The court should do the same here. For the foregoing reason and for those explained in the government's motion in limine concerning pseudonyms, the court should permit victim 4 to testify under a pseudonym. Okay, let me get to this one. So let's go over here. This is Exhibit A, and let me get it to show. Okay. Oh, okay, my bad. It was not showing the right screen. Okay, here we go. So this is Exhibit A right here. And this is an affidavit from victim 4's attorney stating some facts and arguments, I guess, why his client should remain anonymous. Okay. Okay. So his name is Michael Ferreira. I, Michael Ferreira, declare under penalty of perjury upon information and belief as follows. I am a member of the bar of the state of New York and a partner in law firm Heckler Fink LLP. And I counsel victim 4 in the above captioned action. I respectfully submit this declaration in support of the government's April 4th, 2025 motion in limine to protect the identities. So this was filed yesterday, guys. If you're just now, excuse me, it was filed early today. If you're wondering what this is that I'm reading, just slide back. There is some discussion again this morning about victim 4 and these documents that I guess have been either sealed or were just not filed to the docket, were filed today after midnight. So it was kind of like, in the middle of the night. I'm a member of the Bar of New York and counseled victim 4 in the above captioned action. I respectfully submit this declaration in support of the government's April 4th, 2025 motion in limine to protect the identities of certain victims, including victim 4, and pursuant to the court April 22nd order to furnish evidence to support an actual risk of harm if she were required to testify without the protection of a pseudonym. Victim 4 has already endured substantial emotional and psychological trauma as a result of her experiences about which she will testify at defendant Sean Combs' upcoming trial. As a result of this trauma, victim 4 has struggled with, and there is a significant redaction. Let's get past the redaction. Without the protection of a pseudonym, victim 4 faces substantial risk of additional irreparable harm to her prospects of employment and close personal relationships, not to mention her safety and emotional and psychological recovery process, which continues to this day. Contrary to Mr. Combs' assertion, victim 4 is neither ambivalent about nor interested in testifying using her real name and seeks the protection of a pseudonym to prevent the actual and specific threat of harm described below. Much of victim's 4 most sensitive testimony is unknown to the public. I understand that victim 4's testimony will almost certainly involve blank. Victim 4's anticipated testimony in this regard is obviously extremely sensitive in nature and would result in humiliating, re-traumatizing publicity if victim 4 is required to testify using her real name. Victim 4 has never spoken publicly about or otherwise publicized. Victim 4 acknowledges that possibly the media or public will connect the dots to identify her. But even if the protection of a pseudonym does not make it impossible for someone to identify her, victim 4 also hopes that her clear preference to keep her identity secret might prompt the media and public to respect her decision and not publish her name, even if they are able to do so. All right, let me get caught up on. Okay, just one second. Okay. Emotional and mental harm. The circumstances of that victim four endured, and I guess we'll find out when she testifies. It's redacted right now. Victim four blank. Although she has made progress, Although she has made progress, the prospect of testifying about her experiences has triggered significant anxiety as she revisits many of the most traumatic experiences of her life. If victim four is required to testify about these traumas without the protection of a pseudonym, her hard fought process will undoubtedly be negatively impact, and her emotional and psychological anguish worsened, including because she faces the risk of becoming publicly and permanently associated with this very traumatic circumstances she has spent years trying to move on from. Professional material harm. Beyond the emotional and psychological toll, victim four, public identification in the course of her testimony would significantly jeopardize her professional prospects. But if she is forced to testify without protection of a pseudonym, her efforts will be hampered. Finally, victim four is legitimately fearful of substantial risk of harassment and reprisal from Mr. Combs and his supporters if she is forced to testify without protection of a pseudonym. As the court is well aware, Mr. Combs is already found to have engaged in numerous instances of witness tampering, harassment, both directly and with the assistance of other individuals operating at his direction. For victim four, this experience of harassment is all too familiar as a result of her experiences of abuse and trauma. Victim four maintains her constant fear that next 18, indeed, this fear of reprisal is so acute that victim four blank. 19, if victim four is forced to testify using her real name, it will only exacerbate this pattern of harassment. In sum, in order to protect the privacy, avoid humiliation, avert harassment, and prevent the adverse impact on her ability to earn an income and continue to pursue emotional and psychological treatment in recovery, victim four respectfully requests the court to permit her to testify under a pseudonym. I declare under penalty of perjury that the foregoing is true and correct upon. So I mean, okay, so that's exhibit A, guys. And if you want to know exhibit A, there was a letter filed from the prosecution to the judge regarding victim four and her coming forward to testify using a pseudonym to protect her from all of the things mentioned. She's concerned about her ability to have an income and to be able to operate out here. And that is what is being addressed. And I don't know if, if for some reason she were not able to testify under a pseudonym, like what effect would that have? Would she not be willing to come forward? Well, look, let's say it like this. I mean, in federal, there's no cameras, there's no audio. So even if we heard her voice, like let's just say someone's in the gallery, right? They hear her voice. We gonna know it's Carisha, okay? But if the judge admonishes and says, in interest of this individual's privacy, we ask that you do not, if you think you know who this person is, to not. I don't know. I guess we're going to find out. But Diddy is pushing because maybe they feel like they're not able to question or tie in or be able to elaborate on particular situations if they're not able to identify her, because maybe part of their defense would be, well, but you were at such and so and blah blah blah. It could be any number of reasons. We know Cassie's coming forward. Victim two, we don't know who victim two is. Victim two could very well be his last girlfriend, of note, of record. We know that there was, Carisha would go live. Let's just say this. We don't know who which victim is which victim, but this is what I'm gonna say. If you followed Carisha and Diddy at any point when they were together, sis would stay mad. If Diddy were out on a red carpet with Love's mother, remember he was dating Carisha and had a whole baby. So were they together in exclusive relationship? Obviously not. I don't know how she felt about that, but he did have a whole baby. And they seem to have had a little bit of a tumultuous relationship. Clearly on Carisha Please, she wanted to be number one on numerous occasions. And what we're hearing that from the opening statements from the prosecution regarding Cassie, like some of these women were probably used to very much being a number one in whomever they're with's life. But Diddy, it was on some, it appears to be on some you're one of many type thing. Um, they need to let her testify as Jane Doe. Yeah, I mean, I would think the testimony versus, but I guess it will be in the record, when they have to cross examine, when they're like, well, how do you know? How did you meet so and so? I'm sure they can get around that. I don't know why they feel like they have to have this person's name on the record. I don't know, but most of the time our sex life, I mean, this case does have a lot to do with sex lives and lifestyle. And most of the time, nobody knows what you're doing behind closed doors. But Diddy let a very open slash private life, and a lot of people knew, like we people knew but didn't know the details, right? Or didn't, there were whispers, right, for long periods of time, but most of us don't have to deal with that. So if this person was in the background, freak offing and making herself available, and nobody really knew that was what was really going on, um and maybe they want to keep it private. Who knows, Um it's interesting, and it's going to unfold before our eyes very soon. I'm loving this early. Okay. Okay. I said, let me go ahead and handle this business. I just dropped off at school, and I'm on my blogger first thing this morning, and get you guys what's going on as soon as possible. I think there was another document file, but I feel like it's closely related to this. Let me just refresh the docket real quick and make sure there's nothing else to talk about before I let y'all go. Of course, we will be covering the family arrival if they even. Let me just talk about that too today. In just a second, let me look at this. The government is in receipt of defendant's April 15th request for Rule 17 subpoena. Okay, so let me tell you about this too. Let me add this to the deck so you guys can see it real quick. There is a subpoena from the defense to the prosecution asking for some more information. I think about some emails or something. And let's see what's going on. They feel like it's expansive. Okay, so Maureen Comey, who is, every time I see Maureen Comey, all I can see is her father's face. Cause my God, she looks just like her dad. James Comey. Let's see. Okay, here we go. Let me put it over here, and I'll share this one. This is another one that was filed in the middle of the night. I don't look, I'm not inferring that there's anything nefarious. But these people are busy all day, so I'm sure they're just dropping when they can drop, right? And maybe it needed to be in before court today so that if they needed to argue something, they could. Okay, so this is another doc that was posted in the wee hours. This is again Maureen Comey, who is one of the prosecutors, and she is saying that the government is in receipt of the defendant's April 15th, 2025 request for a Rule 17 subpoena. Let's find out real quick what a Rule 17 subpoena is. Federal Court Rule 17 subpoena. Rule 17 subpoena governs, okay, federal court rule 17, which are legal documents required to witness to attend, for requiring a witness to attend and testify or produce documents. The rule outlines how subpoenas are issued, served, and enforced. It also addresses situations where a defendant may need the court's assistance in obtaining a subpoena for a indigent witness. Must include. Okay. So the government is in receipt of the defendant's April 15th request for a Rule 17 subpoena for materials from victim 4 and respectfully requests to respond by Friday, April 18th, 2025. This was posted today. Why is this being posted today from April? Because it was either under seal and it was not on the docket, I guess, until it became relevant. In making this request, the government notes that the proposed subpoena is inconsistent with the guidance provided by the court on the April 14th, 2025 conference on this matter. At that conference, the court advised defense counsel that the broad request for materials from victim 4 would present issues and that the counsel should therefore be rifle shot about what you are asking for and point to specific items of relevance that you believe exist and have not been turned over and are not in Mr. Combs' possession and confer with the government. So it sounds like they're asking for some things from victim 4, and based on the request, it sounds expansive, and they're asking that the defense be more specific what they want. So despite this clear guidance, despite them telling the defense, we need you to tell us exactly what you want because we can't give you everything. Despite this clear guidance, the defendant made no attempt to confer with the government, instead submitting a broad request that is on face that on its face is that exact kind of general fishing expedition provided by Rule 17, government, United States government versus Nixon. Let's see. Also see United States versus Xu, and denying broad proposed Rule 17 subpoena because among other reasons, the defendant was engaging in a fishing expedition. As a result, the government respectfully requests an opportunity to respond prior to the issuance of any subpoena. So I guess before the defense is able to subpoena whatever Mr. Combs is saying that victim 4 has, they want it to be specific before I guess he starts subpoenaing their witnesses and have an idea of what they're requesting, because maybe it's because it's their witness. Girl, in R. Kelly case, the 14-year-old in the video didn't use her name either. Okay. I'm just the 14-year-old, that's one thing. I'm wondering if this person is a celebrity, because they're saying that it would impact. I mean, look, all these victims, I wish them the best. They've been through it. This is a in the interest of justice and all of the things. This is a very public process, you know what I mean? So it doesn't mean to negate their rights for privacy and all of those things, but unfortunately, it's sometimes it's one of those things, you got caught out there. I'm sure most of the people who are having to testify would probably rather not. This is some mess. This is some mess. And most of these things that are done in the deepest, darkest, private parts of your life and lifestyle, yeah, you wouldn't want everybody to know. But unfortunately, baby, on this situation, everybody's knowing. Okay, everybody's knowing and everybody's seeing and all of the things, right? Thank you so much, Sagittarius, for supporting. Good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning, everybody. And a free way you can support is by double tapping the likes, hitting the thumbs up. It's very much appreciated. And Thank you for that. Okay. What else? Let me just talk real quick about the churn. Okay. Yesterday it was quite disturbing and very sad for these kids to have to listen about the freak nasty shenanigans of their dad. You know what I'm saying? Even the young men, um I almost feel like some of the kids, him and Cassie have been done for a decade now, right? So this is going back almost 20 years from where they started to where they ended. And, the Cassie relationship has been over now, what, 8, 9, 10 years almost. And these girls would have been 6, 7, 8 years old as Cassie was exiting the chat, right? Um, I can only imagine what you know what I mean? Like sometimes when you kind of remember things, you remember somebody was in the mist, you remember somebody was around or whatever. And just to know that these things were happening, and also what your dad was getting into when he had parties, when he had friends over, you can't come downstairs or don't go to this part of the house because these people live in huge homes, 10 and 15,000 square feet. It's several houses in a house, private kitchens, lots of help and support in the house. These kids had probably a lot of things happening right up under their noses and had no idea. Is that going to be change the way they feel about their dad? I'm sure no, but I can only imagine it was traumatic. It's probably triggering. At some point it's going to be this is going to be a memory for them, and it's very sad and unfortunate. I wasn't shocked the kids were there because they are a solid front line for dad. But during that testimony, I don't know. I think at a certain point, one of the adults, because there were many, Miss Janice was there, Grandma was there were several moms there. Okay. Misha Hilton, which I didn't even recognize her coming in on the walker. God bless. I don't know if she just had surgery, what she got going on, but sis was walking in a walker. And I saw some of the coverage and I saw somebody walking in a walker, and they let her in. You know how everybody walked over to the side, but she walked into those doors that nobody else is walking into right now. Or they guess they pick whatever days they want you to walk in whatever doors. Anyway, I was like, it just crossed my mind, but I didn't even think anything of it till I saw her later. And I'm like, what happened? But maybe she had surgery, girl. You never know what happened. But anyway, mothers were there. Chance's mother was there. They said Love's mother was there. Justin's mother was there. So baby mamas were on deck. Grandma was there. Nobody thought that when they were going to get into that nitty gritty in that video that this would have been a good time for a bathroom break or run the girls out to go get coffee. Okay, you guys did what you needed to do today. Call the drivers, pick them up and take them. You know what I'm saying? Like for the young ladies, I don't know that that's something that they needed to see. Even King Combs, honestly, King has been in his has had his situations going on. I know he's there to support his father, but some of that testimony, you know, I don't know. For the younger of the children, I think it would have been a good idea for them to exit once that particular testimony started. But that's just my opinion. You guys, if you're coming in after if you're upon the replay, make sure to comment down below. Let me know what you think. Let me see if you guys have any questions. I'm gonna let y'all go, and then I'll be back at lunchtime, and then we will look at all of the see who showed up today from the family. Um, and what's actually going on. Good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning. Apparently the kids being present is on purpose and a part. Well, absolutely. I mean, he's got a beautiful family. There's no doubting that. And then, it's almost I look, excuse me for it's almost a harem of women, like Chance's mother, Justin's mother, Love's mother. Rest her soul, Kim Porter is gone. She's the mother of the mother load of the kids. She's the mother to the twins. She's the mother to King. She's the mother to Quincy. Um, all his baby mamas checked in and present, baby. Everybody's there. So yes, the family support. And then there was someone in a two-piece, a gentleman with a cane, I don't know who he is. I don't know if he's Unc. I don't know who he is, but Sir was with everyone. There was, there was a significant show of numbers for the Combs family. Um, but Diddy got the kids, the baby mamas, his mama, everybody's there. As a kid, I didn't even want to think of you kids get grossed out by seeing us kiss, okay? Ew, don't do that. Ew. It makes them uncomfortable. But what I'm going to tell you is this: seeing your parents affectionate to each other is not a bad thing. Those are the things that they're going to remember when they're adults, when they're looking and they're out here dating and available for love and relationships. When they see dad and you have a wonderful relationship, vacation, like they're going to model what they see. Okay. We all know this, right? And if you have wonderful memories of your parents, beautiful. If you have bad memories, baby, you know what it takes to get over that type of thing. Daddy is clearly a playboy and got a lot going on. And these kids have a lot to unravel and figure out about what's really real out here. Because the average man who's on trial for what Diddy's on trial for doesn't maybe don't look forget about having 7 kids, but all your baby mamas show up, your 85-year-old, you got a whole family reunion in the first 2 rows, baby. Sir has a lot going on, and also on trial about the shenanigans of your sex life. It's a lot. It's spicy. Yes, absolutely. Very spicy. Um, so we'll get back into it. I know we read some live tweets yesterday, and we'll get back into it. I don't, we'll get back into it. I'm gonna say it like that. They should not have been there. Yeah, I think that it's okay that they were there because they're there to support their dad. But when they knew, like once they queued up that video, also, just what happened at the intercom when the security guard, aka the police officer, came out. You know what I mean? It might have been time to just say, you know what? Let's go get a coffee. Let's go have lunch. Let's go, let's go have a night. You know what I mean? Let's go back to the hotel, change, get loose, relax, and wait for everybody else to come home. Let the boys, let the men handle it. Us girls are gonna dip, and one of the moms, I mean, there were several there. And it all seems like they play nice, they all have siblings in common. But this a trip. It's a trip. He got all his baby moms there. Um, well, they're not. You know what I mean? They think those girls are grown. And that's good. That's good that you think that, but that's, what I'm saying, not you specifically, but they believe that they are more grown than they actually are, but that's okay. Okay. And they are all adults at the end of the day. So, and they so you're talking about the victims, or the girls are not quite, I think, are they 17? Have they turned 18 yet? Maybe they have turned 18. Look, it's those are his kids. I think a lot of people had a lot of compassion for the what was look, they even left. So at a certain point, the girls did leave. So if I was a baby mom, I wouldn't be there. Okay, I know Bougie Gang is like, no, ma'am. Girl. Y'all, this is your morning update. Okay. I don't know if there's anything else for us to talk about, but if you're just now coming in, we went over a couple of documents, actually 3 that dropped in the midnight hour. And if you want to get caught up on the docket and what's going on behind the scenes, that I got you covered. And that was what was posted. And that is possibly what could be argued at some point today. There might be some going back and forth in writing. I don't know if they're going to take time away from testimony today to have conversation, but sometimes in the middle of a break or before lunch, they might, address that there are some things pending type thing, but when it hits the docket, we'll definitely talk about it. Otherwise, I'll see you guys at lunch and we'll see all of the arrivals, see what Miss Janice is doing today. Is sis tired? Okay. Is sis tired? Is she coming to support her son today? Will Miss Janice be there every day? I honestly, I don't even want to say I feel bad for Miss Janice, but damn, she's 85. Okay. It's unfortunate that at her age, you have to deal with your big age, grown ass son who is 55 years old. And damn it, this type of foolishness. Okay, this type of foolishness that equates to very serious crimes. So anyway, guys, I'm gonna let y'all go. Let me know if there's anything I missed, if there's anything else you guys want to talk about. Janice wants that. She wants that girl. She got it. Yeah, he's there. The sir, the bodyguard, the security, baby, she got that covered. We are look, it's the coverage we want to see. Okay, it's coverage our way. Okay. You agree with the law, you can't even rent a car. You can't even rent a car. You agree with the law, you can't even rent a car. So when let me see, at 18, the law recognized 18 as an adult, and that's fine. Look, it's personal preference. I'm just saying it doesn't really matter. Look, at the end of the day, the girls were in the courtroom. If that's what you're referring to, um, they're there, they're supporting their dad, and they left when it wasn't comfortable. All I'm saying, I'm not saying that any bailiffs or that the guards should have taken them out. This is risque. This is too much. As a daughter, nobody wants to hear about the lady that maybe used to be around and make you grilled cheese sandwiches or whatever the interaction was that she had with these kids when they were 10 years younger, with the male prostitutes and getting peed in her mouth. You know what I'm saying? Like that's a lot. That's a lot of extra. And all of the male prostitutes and the masturbation and all of the things. Like it's perfectly fine for them to sit there if they want to, but clearly they didn't, because at a certain point they decided to leave. And I think that was a good choice for them as adults at 18. If they are actually 18, which they could definitely be, and maybe they are, good job for them for censoring and saying, you know what, I've had enough. I'm going to tap out right now. This is not this. I don't want to hear about dad masturbating one more time. Okay. It's very trashy. It's very trashy, with a very prominent, rich family, that really, you know what I'm saying? I don't know. The girls are going to show up. We already know this. That is part of the defense. Let's be clear. Someone said this earlier, and they talked about this back when Diddy was getting busted at MDC for using other people's pins to make phone calls, and them trying to, do Father's Day posts. I mean, this is going back a minute now, because last Father's Day, was he not in? He was at MDC already, right? He's almost coming up on a year, being locked up, and the prosecution was complaining that he was using his kids as eye candy to kind of make sure that his image was intact and, show himself off to be like a family guy, right? So make no mistake that the Combs showing up in numbers and baby mamas reporting for duty, baby, it's giving payroll, it's giving you still get a check, it's giving daddy diddy, it's giving all the things. And you know what I'm saying? Like, girl, we're just watching. But interesting, right? Very, very, very interesting. It's hard. I could not imagine watching our father do some, girl. This is probably nothing compared to what we're gonna hear, and unfortunately not get to see, but it's gonna be some ish. Um, People need to think: is this the way the world is today? I mean, back in the day, remember, some of us of a certain age, your parents' nightmare was for the neighbors to find out. Now it's for your news feed. the people that follow you, God forbid they find out. Now, baby, it's the world, because the world doesn't even care if you're a celebrity. If the story is interesting and compelling enough, baby, Bangladesh, Hong Kong, it's going to go viral. They're going to see it in London, and they're going to see it in Oklahoma City. It's going to be everywhere. And so even just for 10 minutes, that 10 minutes, everybody wants the 10 minutes, baby, that 10 minutes might not be your best 10 minutes. They could be like your worst 10 minutes. But this world we live in now, if you are, Front Street is global. Forget about just the neighbors. It's global now. And unfortunately, back to what we came live on, victim 4, baby, I don't want to even, this is the, when you sign up for this. So unfortunately, this lady is a victim. She was hurt and harmed. This, unfortunately, when you deal with high profile people, this is what can happen. It's not what always happens. It's definitely not a reason. People deserve their privacy, but that's why some people don't want to date public people, people who are powerful, people with lots of money, just for that reason. So anyway, okay guys, this was our little morning update, our little morning catch up. You guys make sure to hit the thumbs up for me, share me out if I would definitely appreciate it. Make sure to subscribe to this channel. Make sure your notifications are set so that when I go live, post another video, do all of the things, you can be here when that happens. Okay. Take care. Have a wonderful day, guys. I'll see you guys later.